Good morning. This is Jessica with the 1 Million Cups podcast, and I'm so excited that you guys are able to join us today. I'm here with Autumn Evans to talk about her awesome business, Masonry, Evans Masonry. So we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
I'd love to just jump in and talk about your journey and kind of how you came to starting this Masonry business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so humbled. People always ask, how do you know when you made it? When you're on your first podcast.
I love that answer. That's so great.
You know, I've been listening to podcasts really consistently for the past 10 years, and they've truly helped me grow as a person and help build my character, just learning from other people.
Yeah.
So Evans Masonry, it's my true passion. I love it. I love working in the business. I love waking up every morning, just putting the work in. It doesn't even seem like work. Our business started 10 years ago.
Wow.
My husband and I, Joe Evans, he's my partner, and we have an origin to our story with my in-laws.
Nice.
So I'll start there.
Okay, that sounds great.
So my father-in-law, Jim Evans, he was in the Navy in the 1960s. And after he got out of the Navy, he learned masonry. He joined a journeyman hall here in Omaha,
Cool. Yeah.
and he became a journeyman mason. And he met a wonderful woman, Yvonne, and she happened to be the hardest worker that I've ever met. And the duo, my mother and father-in-law, worked together for 30 years.
Wow.
And masonry is hard work. It's physically tasking, it's mentally tasking, and I commend them for still being married through all of it.
Yeah.
And they had, there were 3 boys and a girl, and my husband Joe was really the only one that loved masonry. I mean, who loves getting out there, digging ditches, pouring concrete, laying brick, getting yelled at sometimes, you know, kind of old school. And he just stuck with it, and he really mastered his craft, and it makes it really easy to be partners with somebody who takes such pride in their work.
That's awesome.
And to learn from old generation masons. And so let's see here, 30 years. So Joe, he's 46. I don't want to age him, but he started when he was 14.
Wow.
And he became a journeyman bricklayer at 19. So he was on the wall laying brick at 19 years old, and he didn't want to go to college, he just wanted to learn the trade. And so he worked with his parents until they retired in 2005, roughly, right before the recession.
Oh, wow.
And his vision at the time was to go off on his own, but at the time there wasn't work. And so he tried everything that he could as far as like firefighter, police officer. He did applied at Union Pacific. He ended up at Vital Signs doing sign work for several years. And he always did masonry on the side. And so my in-laws retired, and there was a gap between when we started our business. So there was a 10-year gap.
Wow.
And Joe and I had a full-time job at the time, and any money he made was bonus money.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot of stress with it.
That's awesome.
And he did what he loved to do. And so it's grown from there. It's really organically grown.
Gotcha.
It's been a lot of majority word of mouth, referral basis,
That's
which is
great.
the best way to do business.
Absolutely.
Because if somebody refers you and they know someone who you've done work for them before, they're always going to, most of the time they're going to hire you because it's a trust basis.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, there's so many contractors out there and so many horror stories that if you know somebody that does good work, you just trust it. You trust
awesome.
You trust the process. There's a lot of details I've left out along there. Let's see here. So,
but I love that you were supporting him in his dream.
Yeah.
And that was, facilitated by your day job. But now Tell me a little about that story where you took the plunge and you both went into work together, leaving that 9-to-5 behind.
Yes, that's always the dream. Always the dream. You know, we're working the 9-to-5, and when do we leave our 9-to-5?
Yeah.
When do you take that faith, that leap of faith?
That leap of faith, absolutely.
And truly leave? Well, 10 years ago, my husband and I, we prayed about it. We prayed about guidance, and we asked God, is this the time that we need to start this business?
Yeah.
And my husband was scared.
Yeah.
You know, his parents are retired. He didn't really have them in the field to kind of show him the way. And and I've always had the abundance mindset. And I'm like, you can do this. You can do this. Like,
I love that.
You have a talent. Let's go spread your wings and fly.
Yeah.
And between the two of us, God bless the broken road and led him straight, led me straight to you.
Sure.
We are like an extreme dynamic duo. And so we push each other on both sides. But
sounds great.
Yeah, so let's see, I was in the Army Reserve for 8 years.
Amazing. And I'm sure that, also gave you some of that grit. We talk about that grit that entrepreneurs have to have and that stamina through that adversity. So I would imagine that your military experience definitely helped in those early years where you were maybe, struggling a little bit to get things off the ground.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. The military, taught me never give up.
Good.
If you put the work in, you're going to reap the rewards.
Awesome.
But going back to when we started the business and when I, left my 9-to-5, we started in 2015, and I was really growing in my career.
Awesome.
Yeah, I graduated from UNO with a real estate land use economics degree, so I had my real estate license, real estate broker's license, and so I was really thriving in my career, and it was more like stability for us when the timing was right for me to dive into the business.
Sure.
And I love construction and masonry. I love real estate. I love development. And I love my husband. It's the perfect combination to do what you love all the time with who you love to be around.
So great. Yeah.
It's
and when you talk about that, you come with the business side of things, and he's got the technical expertise.
Yes.
And there's some overlap there because you know what he's talking about, but I always think that's really what makes entrepreneurial groups work well together.
Yes.
When you have a little overlap, but you have the expertise at different ends of what the company needs. So that's great. Now, talk to me a little bit about your co-founder as your husband, because that dynamic, obviously, it's work kind of all the time for you, right?
Oh, yes, yeah. There has to be some boundaries in there to make things work.
Absolutely.
We've had trial and errors and tested waters out to see what works best for us. But I think you really have to know who you're going to business with.
Yeah.
To know whether or not it's going to work.
That's true.
And so we tested those waters early on in our relationship.
Yeah.
We've been together for 16 years, and we just celebrated our 12th year wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. So we've really tested marriage and to see if we can make it work. Don't we all? It's hard enough being married, let alone have a child and run a business. And so for those listening, if you have a spouse and you're thinking about going in business, really think about the details of it. And do you love spending time with your spouse that much?
Right.
But there are some tricks and tips in there that I can provide to keep that separation and allow the individuality of yourself to come out and with that. But okay, so a fun fact about my husband and I. It's a really fun story. Nobody would ever expect this. We met, I was 16, he was 23, so there's a 7-year gap, and no, he wasn't hitting on me right away. It was about when I was 22, but we were both in the boxing world.
Oh, really?
And so we were teammates.
Okay.
And we met at Northside Boxing Club.
That's so cool.
And we were both competitors. We're both athletes. We both have this drive that nothing can stop us. We put our mind to something, and we will do whatever it takes to accomplish that goal.
I love it.
And we both have this we're both on fire all the time.
Right.
And we both give 100% with whatever we do. But with that, Joe was a professional fighter, and ironically, we both had 36 fights.
Wow.
And we both competed for 12 years. They overlapped a bit. He retired before me, and I had 3 years to continue with my career. And I was in the Army, and the Army allowed me to box.
Oh, cool.
And they paid me to be on the Army boxing team.
Well, that's great.
While I was in college.
Yeah.
And when I was done with my TDYs or my tournaments and things, Joe, we figured out that he could train me.
Gotcha.
And so he's retired, he's a professional, he has a little bit more like experience as far as professionalism.
Sure.
Professional career in boxing.
Yeah.
But so he coached me for 3 years.
Gotcha.
And it was an interesting dynamic because, he's in charge when we're in the ring, when we're at the gym, but afterwards we got to cut it off.
Right.
Like there's got to be some boundaries here. I don't want to hear about how bad I sucked that day. Or, how I didn't slip that punch. I know I got punched in the face. Okay, I felt it. Type of thing. So we tested it early on with our boxing.
Yeah.
And it worked. We loved it.
Yeah.
The feeling of like my significant other being in the corner, having my back when I'm in the ring.
Yeah.
Facing someone who wants to take my head off.
Yeah.
But I know when the bell rings, I have my support right there.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You have that coaching, someone who's pushing you, but then you also have that safe space where maybe if things weren't going great, you kind of can, fall apart a little bit and have them come around you and build that up. That is just so great.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things that I learned about Evans is your 5-star rating. Like, you have no bad reviews, which is amazing, especially all your organic growth. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that the customer relationship is something that is so important. And I think you probably have some good tips to share on how do you maintain those great relationships with your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there are so many things to this. Joe and I have so many strengths, but they're different strengths. I have the strength to talk to people.
Yeah.
I'm easy to talk to.
Sure.
I had a customer 2 days ago that doesn't talk to anyone. He's the husband, and he's a complete introvert. I don't know what I said, but he wouldn't stop talking. And I just brought it out of him.
That's awesome.
I have a background in real estate negotiations.
Okay.
And I had an extremely tough childhood.
Gotcha.
And I had to learn to navigate personalities and situations very young.
Yeah.
My mother had she still struggles, but she's had a lot of trauma in her life, and so navigating a personality disorder, I can feel people's personalities. I can sense.
You're very empathetic.
Yes, I can sense feelings. Yeah. And so having that talent has really helped grow our business. And when I answer the phone, so first off, I did take some notes here.
I love it.
Because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
You've got the thing down.
I'm extremely organized.
Yes. Well, I think that that's such a crucial skill to have because you can let so many things go with a business, and then it just who's on first kind of thing.
Exactly.
So I did share those.
I did write some things down, and I answered the phone, number one.
Love it. Real person, not a robocall.
Yeah,
so important.
I care about the business, and I know masonry.
Yeah.
I know it inside and out. I've been doing masonry for 16 years.
Yeah.
On the weekends, having really hot dates with my husband in the sun.
In the sweating
our tails off.
So you bring that expertise to the phone call too.
Yes.
It's not just, I'll get you to that department. I think that authenticity really probably reads great with your prospective clients.
Absolutely, and especially as a woman, I've had a few times where a man has asked to talk to the man of the business, and I swallow my pride, and I'm like, sure, I'll go get him for you. No big deal. I understand, old school, which is fine. I don't take offense to that.
That's
So when I answer the phone, I smile, and I greet them, and I'm happy to talk to them. I'm happy to take their call. Be friendly and happy that they called.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful you called. How can I help you?
Right.
What kind of project do you have going on?
I love that.
Or customers will email me And what I do is I make sure that's a real person. I call them.
Yeah.
And before I schedule an appointment, I make sure that I'm sending my husband to a safe environment.
That's
number one. It's kind of like real estate. You don't want to just send your people wherever.
Yeah.
And I return phone calls. I ask good questions. I navigate to see if this client or potential customer is going to be a good fit for us. It's kind of like a friendship or a relationship
Absolutely.
that we're building. And so I have had customers where I felt in my gut that this wasn't a good potential customer, and I navigate through that.
Gotcha.
And so not everybody's fit to be a customer.
That's true.
Not everybody is. You know, we are a high quality contractor. We're not the cheapest. If I'm your fifth bid, I'm sorry, but I'm probably going to be towards the top, but I guarantee we're worth the wait.
Yeah.
We're worth the wait.
I love it.
And, you know, based upon our reputation, just go see our 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We give a fair price, and we bid what we need for the job.
Yeah.
So once the job is sold, well, let's see here. We provide a consultation, so we meet them.
Gotcha.
We provide them a proposal, and with that, we try to get them a proposal within 7 days.
Gotcha.
And we let them know if we're super busy, it might be a few weeks.
Sure.
We're a small company, and so we try to have that work-life balance to where Joe's in the field and I'm in the office, but he runs the numbers because he knows what it takes to get that job done.
Yeah.
So I let him, you know, he does all that. And once the job's sold, we have a customer sign a proposal and send it back. And we don't require deposits until we're getting close to that job.
Gotcha.
So we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. And a lot of contractors want 50 to 60% down.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For the longest time, we didn't even take deposits. It was that trust between your customer, knowing that you're going to do such a good job that they wouldn't make an excuse not to pay you.
Gotcha.
And if something was incorrect, we would do what we had to do to make it right.
Yeah.
And you always do the right thing. Even if it's going to cost you money, you always do the right thing. Your reputation is everything.
Absolutely.
If you ruin your reputation, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, people talk. Let's get real. People talk.
Yeah. Especially with masonry, I feel like it's you're really an artist, you know, because brickwork is something that's extraordinarily personal to the person who's requesting that particular project. And so I think you really have captured that beautifully, where you have this really intentional relationship and you're creating a masterpiece for them in their home. It's a very sensitive thing. So I just think that's absolutely great. I just have one last question. If you were to go back, I think I know the answer, that you would definitely do it again in a heartbeat. But maybe what's one thing you would have told yourself of, like, to give yourself advice to maybe make it a little easier?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I thought about if I should have left my 9 to 5 sooner, and when should I have done that?
Yeah.
And it's neither here nor there.
Sure.
You know, I'm here today, and we're striving towards that freedom.
Yeah. But maybe something that, like, an entrepreneur who's in your shoes, like 10 years ago,
absolutely,
getting ready to take that, what would you tell them? Maybe that would be really something that you'd want them to know.
It's going to take a few answers with that one. So let me see if I can narrow that down.
Sure.
All right, you have to have your priorities straight, first of all.
I love that. That's great.
And I've noticed if you don't have your priorities straight, things start to fall apart.
Gotcha.
And my husband and I, we're both Christians, and we're a faith-based home. We believe in God.
Yeah.
And if you don't have God first, nothing else will matter. And we have seen that time and time again, that He delivers. And so, God first, then your marriage, then your children, and then your career. Those things, if I would have known that from the start, things would have been a lot easier.
Yeah. You know,
a lot easier.
People talk about that work-life balance, and I really think that does come down to that priorities that you talk about.
Absolutely.
And we want to grind and we want to give everything we have to a business, but we are people who have relationships, and without those we fall apart. So I think it's so smart to call out maintaining those relationships above maybe what the business needs.
Yeah.
So
if you're
thank you so
too
much.
busy making a living that you forget to make a life,
yes,
who's going to be at your bedside when you're dying?
I love that.
You know, so thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on the 1 Million Podcast. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned a lot and you've been so awesome. And catch us next time, guys. Thanks.
Thanks so much.